Hey everyone, hope you had a good weekend and we are continuing our spider series. By the way, on Sunday, next Sunday, I think it's the 12th. What is next Sunday? 19. Yeah, the 19th of November. We're going to be having a live and a Zoom session parallel. So the teams in Michigan, in Tampa, in Miami, in Toronto, in Ohio, in Israel, and if you guys want, wherever you are around the world, we are meeting a few people together physically, but opening a Zoom. And we're going to be doing a physical practice. We're going to start going over the 8 sequences, going over some other stuff, practicing some music. Of course, it's going to be recorded, but if you want to join from anywhere around the world, you are welcome. So, over the weekend, I was a little bit listening to videos and learning about game theory. Anything that has to do with games is always fascinating to me because we live in an art that is organized around the metaphor of the game. Yeah. The whole philosophy of capoeira is that through the game, you learn about yourself, you learn about others. So I love learning about games. Um, Very nice lecture by Alan Watts about winning or learning how to play the game of life. Okay, so if you don't know Alan Watts and Ramdas, they are two visionaries from the 60s, and it's really worth going over them. Alan Watts, I don't know so much. This was one of my first lectures listening to him. It is very particular. In general, you need to know that there is many guides and many masters and many ways of learning the stuff, and you need to find the one that resonates with you. Sometimes I listen to a lecture, but because the guy is a mathematician, he's explaining it in a math language, it doesn't speak to me. I don't understand anything, or I think it's boring. But next to me is sitting a mathematician, and his eyes are like this and his mouth is open because that is his language. Okay, so each one has different languages that resonate. If you're a musician, if you're a dancer, if you are more analytic person. Okay, so different ways. So for me, Ramdas was a main um, influence, main master. I consider him one of my main guides in the last maybe 10 years, 5 years, I don't know how long. But he is buddies with Alan Watts, and he all the time references Alan Watts, Alan Watts, Alan Watts. So it starts jumping on my feed, and you know how we are. We have to push the button and we have to listen because we are interested. So I was very impressed. And Alan Watts, he gave an idea that I think could be very valuable. Okay, and I'm quickly paraphrasing. And everything I do in these videos is just to get you interested in continuing your own search. Okay, I'm not trying here to give a complete picture because I don't have that abilities. Uh, so he talks about three different kinds of games, three categories of games, and I think they're interesting. So let's go here to the spider pages, okay? So he speaks about a tic-tac-toe as a first kind of game. He speaks about a chess, right? I'm gonna do my best. He speaks about chess as a second kind of game. And he speaks about three-dimensional chess, right? He speaks about three-dimensional chess. So imagine playing a game of chess, but this cube has 8 boards on it, and you can play in different directions on 8 boards. Okay, I don't think this exists. I think it's just an example. But think about the complexity of playing 8 parallel chess games that can move in all directions, 3D, right? So I think everybody will agree with me that even the biggest chess masters in the world will find this challenging, but probably for 99.9999% of society, this is overwhelming, okay? And also you will agree with me that on the other side, tic-tac-toe at a certain age, we stop playing it and we stop becoming intrigued by it because it's a rigged game, right? Because once you understand that whoever starts the game is the one that will always win, once you understand the trick, okay, then basically it just becomes, It's not even a game. Whoever starts is going to win. Whoever. So we lose interest in tic-tac-toe pretty quickly when we're children. Once we figure out one trick, and this game you only need one trick, and you figured out the whole game, and that's it. The game is over. Okay. So then we end up with game number 2, which is the category of chess and other kinds of games that we like. And this is the games that human like because they have a good balance between a complexity and a almost a infinite possibilities and creativity. But on the other hand, they are pretty easy to grasp or at least to get into, right? And I think that capoeira also falls onto this category, number 2. Okay, because we say that a good game is easy to learn, but it takes time to master, long time to master. And chess and capoeira, they're very similar, and that is why many old masters used to use this analogy, right? Mespachin, a lot of other people use the chess analogy, and even in some academies, and I'm not sure if it's done on purpose or no, the floor is shaped like a chess, yeah, like a chessboard. Um, so capoeira, you can basically start playing if you walk down the street and there's a good roda and the community is pleasant and inviting. Sometimes they will just pull you into the circle and you will start playing capoeira without even understanding it, without even knowing. It's so simple to start because there's even less rules than chess, right? But then, of course, we know that you can practice your whole life and there's endless possibilities. Pastinha talks about it, that it's almost similar to boxing. Actually, all martial arts at their original form, they have this strategic playfulness to them. They have a limited amount of movements. So if you think about boxing, basically you have only a straight, right, a cross, a hook, and an uppercut. You have 4 movements, but with these 4 movements, you can create endless possibilities your whole life. And depending on your size and your skill level and your weight, it becomes an interesting. And capoeira is not far away from that. If you think about capoeira, I know it looks very fancy, but if you boil it down, you're going to have something around 4 round kicks, something around 4 straight kicks, something around 4 takedowns, main takedowns. And again, don't say, oh no, but we have 7. Congratulations for you. You're talking about variations, okay? But if you boil it down to the pure essence, then it's really limited amount of techniques for the amount of possibilities that we have. And that is what makes it so interesting and so beautiful. So I think we need to emphasize more the playfulness of capoeira, the strategic aspects of capoeira, because that is when the real learning starts to happen. Okay. It could happen that you're in capoeira for many, many years and you still haven't even started to play. Or maybe you've had only very few games because it takes a certain amount of practice and a certain amount of awareness to really play capoeira. Okay. And again, I'm not saying that I know what it is really to play capoeira, but what I do know from traveling around the world, okay, and I have studied intensely many, many lineages of capoeira, okay, from all styles, from all countries, from all masters. I've gone there since age 17. I've been flying to Brazil every year, okay, and if you add up all my travels to Brazil, it comes out to more than 5, 6 years of living in Brazil, okay, and spending a lot of time in the big hubs of capoeira with the different masters, not just in my group, actually more outside of my group than in other groups, okay, because that is interesting for me to bring that information, okay. So when you study all the lineages of capoeira, you see that they have little variations on the techniques, little variations on how to set up the bateria, little variations about how to do the ritual, little variations about the context. Yeah, some it's gonna be a little bit more aggressive. The spices, let's call it the spices. Some places more spicy, some places more sweet, some places sweet and sour, some places no no tempero, no seasoning. Yeah, very like good product, but not so much tasty. So there's different aspects, but in the end, if you break it down, uh, there is an aspect of capoeira which is very similar to chess. Yeah, it's very similar to chess. The main maybe difference, and that is where capoeira starts to become even more interesting than chess, is that chess really has one objective, right? And the objective of chess is to trap the king of the other player. And if you said kill the king or eat the king or take out the king, then you do not really know chess that well, because any person that's into chess will tell you that the king, even though it's the king of the other person, he's not the enemy, and there is a lot of respect for the king. And when you get to a place of checkmate, you don't kill the king of the other person. He bows the king down to you. He takes the king down and he surrenders, and you start immediately a new game. Basically, he's telling you, okay, you created here a situation. I understand that I have no exit. And he says, thank you for the lesson. And you start a new game. So, in that aspect, capoeira can also be like that. Yeah, you see the really good capoeira masters, they manage to create such a then in the end, you don't have any more answers. You understand that it's a checkmate. And if you're have a controlled ego and you relax, then it becomes a joke. Everybody laughs, volta ao mundo, and start again a new lesson. Okay, at that moment sometimes it could also go in different direction, but the main difference maybe between chess and capoeira, and tell me what you think about it, is between objective and subjective, right? So capoeira is sorry, chess is totally objective. It's clear. We know exactly every piece what it's allowed to do and not allowed to do. There is a rules for every situation, and anywhere around the world that you play chess is going to be played the same, and people can play it even in their head and on the internet. So it's very objective and clear. Okay, capoeira, since it's an art game, so the art aspect of it leaves a place for subjectivity, for personal expression, for personal giving different significance to different things, right? Giving different, how do you say, meanings to different things. And that is where everything becomes even more interesting and more chaotic, okay, for the world of capoeira. So that is about game theory and just the beginning. There's going to be many videos in the future exploring different aspects of the game. Okay, and it's interesting to remember that many other art forms around the world and many religions and philosophies, they also use the game metaphor. Okay, or they use the dance metaphor, or they use the fight metaphor, the battle metaphor. Yeah, so let's give an example of that. So where do we have the dance? If you go to India, to the yoga culture, right, to Hindi, then you have lila. Lila is the dance of illusion. Do we have a dance of illusion in capoeira? Of course, we have the jinga. It's the dance of illusion, right? Sorry, Maya is the illusion. Lila is the dance that you play inside the illusion, is how you deal with all that stuff, right? Where do we have the game examples? Let me see if I can think about a game example. Well, anyway, but fighting examples, of course, we have a lot. Yeah. One of the biggest fighting, it's a metaphor. Yeah. It's not real. Is what we hear a lot now is the jihad, right? Jihad, the fight for God. But here has also been a little bit of a corruption of the message, okay? Because if you go to the Quran, and if you study the essence, not what people, let's be honest, most people are ignorant about everything, and we're going to get to that in 1 second. But if you study a little bit, you're going to see that in the base of it is that jihad el kabir, the big jihad, the big fight. It's bigger than the small jihad. The small jihad is the physical one, is to go and kill our enemies or people that don't think like us. But the jihad el kabir, and if we have Muslims here, I would love you to give your point on it. The jihad el kabir is the internal fight which is exactly the samurai journey. All the martial arts are just metaphors for the internal journey where you fight against your right your structures that were given to you, and you find out who you are for real. Okay, so anyway, it's great that in capoeira we have so much rich metaphors. We can use the game metaphor, we can use the fight metaphor, we can use the dance metaphor, we can use the ritual metaphor, the capoeira ritual. So we have so many metaphors and so many symbols to work with. It's an amazing art form to start untangling your subconscious. Okay, um continuing from this, but maybe it somehow will connect, I don't know, is the idea of focusing, zoom in, zoom out, which is connected to major, minor, week 10, level 1. Yeah. And in the level 1 course, we talk about 9 tools. We create 9 tools in a box. And the last week, we give you a sharpening tool, something that you can sharpen the 9 previous tools, which is major, minor. Major, minor is a tool for sharpening. It's not that major is worse than minor or better than minor. You need to have both. Zoom in, zoom out. When you zoom in and zoom out and you go back and forth, you are sharpening your understanding on the many levels. And I will give you an example. When we were children in school, we had microscopes and telescopes. Microscopes and telescopes are scientific instruments of zooming in and out. So remember when you were using the telescope in school, right? You have to play with this thing until you find the exact level of magnification where you can see what you want to see. If you zoom in too much, you go through it, you don't see anything. If you zoom in too out, you see, I don't know, we used to take this aloe leaf, right? You see the whole leaf. You zoom exactly in the right place, you see the cells, you see that, okay? So just these 3 games, they're also level of magnification. This is a very this is one level of magnification. This is a middle level of magnification, and this is a higher level of magnification. Now, what's cool, if you let's go to biology, if you study levels of magnification of biology, then every level has its own little, let's call it intelligence, right? Wisdom, it works. But if you zoom out to the next level, it's almost always the opposite. I'll give you an example. If you zoom in to the organism level and you start going into your bloodstream and you start seeing there what's happening in the red blood cells and the white blood cells and the minerals and the vitamins and the parasites and the bacteria and all that stuff happening there, if you try to look at that and you turn that into a Netflix video, that is going to be like chaos, total chaos. You have millions and billions of cells doing a lot of stuff, and if you zoom in on that, you're going to say, oh my God, how the hell does that work? But it works amazing, right? And if you zoom out to the human body, look at me here, sitting, talking to you, a million things happening automatic without me even having to think about it, right? Perfect harmony. But if you zoom into my blood, if you take blood now and look at the blood, total chaos, right? So what can seem as chaos on one level of magnification can be total harmony on the next level of magnification. And then if you go to the next level, it's going to be chaos. And if you go to the next level, it's going to be harmony. It's always built like this. Okay. So this takes some kind of, you know, a little bit of curiosity. You need to be curious. You need to want to study and you need to see this stuff. Because as a capoeira practitioner, it's the same thing, right? If you look at a game, one game can be very chaotic. But if you zoom out to the Hoda, maybe the Hoda is harmonious, or the opposite, maybe a chaotic Hoda, but one game is harmonious, is a harmony. Also, if you maybe check what's happening in the body of every player as they're playing, it could be total chaos. Yeah, maybe the adrenaline, maybe the heartbeat, maybe it's off the wall. But if you zoom out and you see the beautiful game on YouTube, it looks like total harmony. Okay, so the levels of magnification, it's something you just have to look at right now. Okay, And I think that's also part of the confusion we're seeing now around the world. That's many people are just focusing on one level of magnification. They are experiencing this level of magnification. Okay, so let's say some people now around the world are experiencing chaos. Okay, and it's not only in Israel, it's all over the world. Some people are experiencing chaos. Okay, and it's hard for them to zoom out and to see that there is some kind of harmony there. Okay, uh, or other people might be in super harmony, right? And they don't understand that this harmony is created because other people are living in chaos. Okay, so chaos and harmony are very, intertwined into our reality on all levels: business, politics, health, culture, uh, psychology, uh, nature. Everywhere you go, you're gonna see uh, different levels of magnification of chaos and harmony. So as you're walking around this week, try to notice it. Yeah, just try to notice it. Oh, this is chaos. This is harmony. This is not. Having said that, isn't it interesting? And this is not my, of course. I wish I could think about these amazing sentences, but I have to tell you, nothing I tell you in these videos I invented or I thought about. If there's anything I do well, is the ability to take a lot of information and maybe connect it together into something. But every sentence I say here is not mine. So Ramdas talks about it in one of his lectures, and he says how curious it is that when we go to the forest, when we go into nature, right, we immediately become curious and accepting and amazed by the variety around us, right? We see a tall tree and we see a short tree and we see a big tree and a small tree and a dry tree and a moist tree. And we're like, wow, isn't nature amazing? Right? We accept it and we don't even think about complaining about the dry tree or cutting down the ugly tree, right? We just accept that in nature there's different kinds of expression. And when it comes to us, how do we do with each other? How do we do with ourselves? Yeah. So that's always interesting how we tend to see the beauty in nature, but we don't see the beauty in ourselves, in our societies, and in our groups. So what do we talk about? 3 types of games, 3 levels of magnification, right? And just appreciating, yeah, the chaos and the harmony that's happening at all levels. Capoeira, chaos and harmony. What an amazing tool. So, those of you that don't know me very well, I want to give a small introduction about my life, just so you understand where I'm coming from. Okay. So, what I'm starting to understand lately that my perspective about things is could be a little bit different than other people's perspective. Of course, on some level, we all have different perspectives. But I'm starting to understand that the way my life was created give me maybe an ability to see things that maybe the average person doesn't see, and that's why I'm sharing on these videos. So one of the things that created this ability to see differently was just where I was living physically. So those of you that don't know, I was born in Jamaica. Then I lived in Jerusalem and in Eilat, which are two very atypical cities in Israel. Then I moved to Miami, where I grew up from age 6 to 12. Then I went back to Tel Aviv, okay, where I encountered capoeira, where my teenage years, I did the army and all that as I was developing with Brazilian capoeira. So look how many cultures by the time I'm 17. Then I start traveling, of course, intensively to Brazil, but not only. And as capoeira starts to grow, um, for about 15 years, I get to travel intensely every weekend to India or to Russia or to Europe or to, United States or to Canada, right? And when we travel, those of you that travel with capoeira, you know that we like to travel not like tourists. We never stay in hotels. We never, well, I don't want to say never, until now, yeah, capoeira was in a place where you sleep in people's houses, you eat in people's kitchens, you meet people's local networks. So when I say I've been to India 25 times, you need to understand that it's not sleeping in the, how's it called there, the nice hotel, the palace, yeah, the Mumbai, the palace there, the Indian palace, right? Yeah, it's sleeping with the real people. It's going to Darvi, the biggest slum in the world. It's going to Brazil and into the favelas and living there not as a tourist but as a local. Okay. Other than that, I have like three nationalities. I have three passports. I speak four languages, and I'm connected to a humongous, at least for me, it's considered humongous network of amazing people around the world. Right? I serve capoeira teachers from China, from Japan, from all of Russia, Israel, Europe, uh, United States, Canada, South America. So this is my, this is like sort of my universe, and I know a lot of people's stories, and I love humanity. So that was just the beginning, like a little bit for you guys to understand sometimes how I come and see things. Okay. And in my travels, I come with a very wide perspective. Okay. But when I go to a small fisherman village in Brazil, I meet people that never left that village. Yeah. So I meet a neighbor, a family of fishermen that still go out on their jangadas, which are fixed every day. People, they come in sunset and they fix the nets and they fix the boat because the next day they're going to go out again, right? And these are the friends that I visit year after year. Okay. And I'm talking to you about lineages of people that are pretty much, I don't want to call them ignorant, because I know the word ignorance in Western culture has one connotation. Okay. But let's call it simple. They're very simple people. They are maybe ignorant in a Western perspective because maybe they don't read and write. Okay. But they are very connected to nature. They have their own lines of wisdom. Many of them are spiritual. Many of them have some kind of connection to different kinds of mystical things. And many of them are just hundreds of years of people that go out every day to fish and come back every day in the sunset. So this is like a kind of people that I really like to meet with. Okay. And on the other side, I can be flying places and meeting intellectuals in universities and participating in panels and teaching courses. So you get to meet a lot of people, and it's very interesting. I love people, and I think in many ways that's probably why capoeira caught me so strong, is because I really love people and I love people's stories. Sometimes when I come to give a workshop somewhere and I see, wow, how these people have evolved. I've known them for 15, 20 years, and I remember them when they were in college or in university, and now they own their old businesses. Now they have kids. Suddenly the kids are coming into capoeira. I love this cycle. I love this cycle. So you can imagine that over the last month, considering everything that's happening around the world, and considering that some people identify me with only one of my passports and with only one of my languages and with only one of my identities, even though I have many. So I've been getting many, many messages and many, many talks. And I have to tell you that I love people and I love to see how different people react. And I have to love to see people's opinions. And I love it. And honestly speaking, at least me, that's my personal experience. And I know it's not everybody's experience, but I've gotten 100% positive messages. I have not even received one negative message from any one of my contacts. And I hope that by making this video, it will not change. Okay. But there was one message that was interesting. It was almost like a lesson for me, and I don't know what the lesson is yet, and I want to share it with you. I'm not going to say the name of the person. The truth is, I don't even remember the person. I got two or three messages that were pretty similar. They are from the same category. Okay. So let's talk about the category. The category of this message was Thank you for keeping your mouth shut and not expressing yourself. That was the message. Okay. And this message, which I got 3 times or 4 times in three different from different people, but if I have to look at it as an alien, and it's very important that you learn to look at things as aliens, because when we look at it from our eyes, it's too distorted. Because then kicks in my Israeli side and kicks in my this side and kicks in my master ego and kick. If I look at things with my eyes, it's too distorted. So what I do is I put on my alien suit, and I say, wait a second. I have no need to react. I have no need to express myself. What is this person trying to say? So if I look at it as an alien and I analyze it, I find something, a phenomena that I do not know how to explain yet. I'm still looking for the answer. But inside my network, like I just explained to you, that I have from the most ignorant, analphabetical fisherman in northeast Brazil, that is my friend, all the way to, I don't know what you would call on the other scale, but multimillionaires or Harvard professors, I have all of them in my network. The message thanking me for being silent came from the most educated, wealthy, modern people in my network. So, what I'm asking myself as an alien is how we as a society, as a world society, not as a country or a flag, as a humanity, how did we reach a point where the most educated, wealthy, healthy, comfortable people, the people that were born in the first world countries, the people that went to the best universities, the people that had the best food every day of their life, the people that never really had to do a real struggle. I mean, real struggle, life threatening struggle. People that never felt violence, people that never felt attacked, people that had the most comfortable life. How come they are at the point where they are thanking me for being quiet? You understand? And why do they think I'm being quiet? I'm actually not quiet at all. I'm doing so many things that you guys maybe are not aware of. I'm not quiet at all. I'm doing a million things. But where does this arrogance come that you are thanking somebody for being quiet? This is, I don't even know how to eat this yet. So if you have any comments about this, please make a comment about this. Okay. But I think it's definitely worth bringing up. Okay. Because there is one thing in arrogance that comes from your karma, where you were born. Okay. You were born in a place where for generations nobody reads and writes. That's one kind of, that's one kind of ignorance. Ignorance. Okay, and that is sort of the cards you got in the beginning of your life. Not everybody gets the same cards. You got 5 cards, and in one of your cards, you were born in a place where there is not a good educational system, where everything is fucked up, and even to read and write is a challenge. And by the way, I have a few people in my network, amazing angels, that came out of this background and today have traveled the world, speak multiple languages. They have such a beautiful vision about how to see things that they're amazing. Okay, because they understood that how we start the game is not how we have to finish the game. But tell me, how do you find yourself on the other side where you were born with everything? You got the best cards, you got the best schools, the best society, the best banks, the best cities, the best business procedures, the most safety, and you find yourself at the peak of your life at age 35, 40, very ignorant about everything that's going on in the world. Now people are saying, oh, no, but you're. I'm not talking about Israel and Palestine, guys. I'm talking about life. Because if you're at age 35, 40, and don't know anything that's happening even inside of you, because you can't even keep your body healthy and your mind, you cannot even keep your mind for 5 minutes quiet so that you can learn something. So this is, I think, an interesting place, and where we find, unfortunately, a very big part of our friends and families and ourselves also. Yeah, let's be honest, we are here. Okay, so let's divide an ignorance that comes from background to an ignorance that comes from a choice. Because if you are living in Europe, United States, Canada, Australia, any place where people are not being shot, yeah, for expressing their ideas, any place where you have access to Wi-Fi, any place where you can have conversations over a coffee, okay, where you don't have to be afraid, and you are still ignorant, it's because you made a choice, and you didn't make the choice once, you make this choice every day on a constant, every day you make a choice to be ignorant, okay? And I think this is the big key to unlocking a lot of the constriction that we find today in ourselves and inside capoeira. And to bring it back to capoeira world, these same people that wrote me these messages, they are part of my network for over 10, 15 years. These are people that are either my students, my direct students, or students of my students, or people that regard me as some kind of authority inside this art form that we are practicing. So I want to ask you guys, if we are practicing capoeira, how can it be that for over 10, 15 years, I have not gotten even one question about capoeira from you? Not about why we put the foot in the jingle like this, and not about what does this song mean, and not about why we do this. Not even one intellectual question about capoeira in the last 15 years. And the first time you feel like reaching out to me is to thank me that I'm quiet? Hmm. What an interesting game, guys. Have a great week.